strong communities. We want to focus on people, everyday people, working people, people who desire to care for their families.
But all this is a patent. It's a patent of the right wing, billionaires and millionaires doing whatever they want, not playing by the rules.
We're here tonight for a cause greater than any one person, and yet a cause for which we need every person. You know what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, and a civilization work? Individual commitment to a group effort. And that is why you are all here. Teamwork, solidarity. Teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision. Alone we can do very little. Together we can do so much. It has been said that might makes right. However, it really should be said the right type of might is what makes right. We have a moral imperative to speak out for what's right, even when the most mighty are against what we have sweated for and what we know is right. Let us pray. Almighty God, shower your blessings on all those assembled here and grant them the strength to labor in love and in unity. Your children call upon you to aid them in all their noble and worthy endeavors. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
So for folks who don't know me, my name is Lisa Lemieux, and I am your president of the Greater Southeastern Mass Labor Council. Today, and all across the Commonwealth, from New Bedford to Boston, Springfield to Worcester, and Amherst to Lawrence, working people are speaking out at rallies like this to say America needs union jobs. Today, in dozens of communities and hundreds of workplaces in Massachusetts, 100,000 union members are wearing stickers like you see here today. And we're part of a Working People's Day of Action that's happening across this nation. We are rising up a case that is being argued today before the U.S. Supreme Court called Janus versus AFSCME. We are rising up because we know that this case is about the freedom to unite for better jobs, the freedom for a better country, and the freedom for a better life. We are calling on the city of New Bedford, Fall River, and all our surrounding cities and towns to rise with good union jobs, jobs with good pay and good benefits, jobs with dignity and workplace protection, jobs that strengthen our communities and help close the gap on economic, gender, and racial inequality. In New Bedford today and all around America, we are telling our stories. Stories about how union teachers fight for quality education, how union firefighters and police advocate for safer communities, how healthcare workers demand better quality healthcare for all, social workers, municipal workers, and public transit workers who fight for services our communities depend on. Today is about the freedom to stand together in a union in every workplace, in every industry, the public sector and the private sector. We have construction workers from all the trades with us in the crowd today. Electricians, carpenters, laborers, we have sheet metal workers, painters, plumbers, bricklayers, and more. We also have the steel workers, letter carriers, stop and shop workers, cafeteria workers, retail workers, and bus drivers, because they know that having a union is the key to a better life. We are also standing here today with our elected officials who believe in protecting the freedom of working people to join unions, because America needs good union jobs. Today's economy is rigged against working people in favor of the wealthy and the powerful, and let me tell you, that is not by accident. Corporate CEOs and politicians who do their bidding have written the rules to favor their own special interest, and now those same corporate billionaires have taken the Janus versus AFSCME to the Supreme Court. But we will not go back. We won't give in. Working men and women will stand for our freedom to join together in strong unions, because we know that together we have the power to build a better future. At this time, I'd like to bring up President of the Fall River Educators Association, Rebecca Cusick, to introduce our first speaker.
Welcome. I am Rebecca Cusick, and I proudly represent the educators of Fall River. We are honored to stand beside you today to send the message that we need our unions. And I have the honor to introduce one of our hardworking and dedicated educators who teaches 5th grade in our city, Laura Guimond.
My name is Laura Guimond, and I'm a 5th grade teacher in Fall River. I became a teacher to help young learners access the many opportunities an education can provide. The first 5 years of my teaching career began in Texas, which is a right-to-work state. As teachers, we had no union, and I love my job immensely, but with every new school year, it became harder to feel as effective. I felt more and more of the time and energy I spent planning for my students and preparing was being used to complete paperwork or implement new programs and initiatives that brought me farther away from my instruction. I felt like I was failing because I couldn't balance it all. Since there was no protection to talk about the problems I saw, I was afraid to raise issues or voice my concerns, and I often felt alone when I faced these problems at work. Since moving back to Massachusetts and becoming a member of my local teachers union, there is a community of support that I have never experienced before. Teachers support each other, and we engage in collaborative problem solving on important issues. I have more freedom to speak my mind as an educator, and I'm not scared to voice my opinion, especially when it comes to matters that get in the way of the learning of my students. My union president, thank you. My union president always says that the union is not just one person and it's not a group of people. We are the union. Every person is the union. And we are not alone. Thousands of working people across the state and the country today are standing up at events like these because they also know that America needs union jobs. Thank you.
Now we're going to hear from the president of ASME Local 1067 graphic specialist at Massasoit Community College, Sheila Kearns.
I just want to thank every single one that showed up today. You guys all rock for being here at 5 o'clock in the evening after putting in a full day at work. Awesome. So just a little bit about myself. I am a third-generation union brat. I'm a third-generation union brat. My grandfather was a union steward. My father was a union steward and president of Firefighters Local. And here I am as a president of Local 1067. So what I want to say today is workers across the state have joined together with thousands of other workers and allies across the country to stand up to corporate special interests who have used their wealth to rig the economy against working men and women. We are standing up today for the freedom of working people to come together to build a strong union, to fight for decent and equitable pay for our friends and neighbors and a secure future for vibrant communities for our friends and neighbors. But in the case of Janus versus ASME, the rich and powerful hope to weaken our union and make us less effective. We must stand together to stick with each other. Now more than ever, we need strong public sector unions, not only as the quality of our life at stake, but also our very freedom. Janus asserts that the government does not have a pressing need to bargain only with unions, that indeed it doesn't need to bargain at all. Instead, could simply decide on employment policies. Can you imagine your employer simply deciding on all employment policies with no recourse, no grievances, no rebuttals, no job security? That, my friends, is called right to work, and we all know right to work is wrong. And soon enough, you'll be without holidays, overtime pay, comp time, vacation, and health insurance, just to mention a few. Janus states that even if there were such a compelling need, unions don't need to require all employees to pay for that bargaining. because unions presumably would want to do it anyway. Wait, what? This is clearly a case of someone who feels that he has the right to benefit that the union provides, but does not want to work or pay for them. How do you spell entitlement? J-A-N-U-S. Corporate special interests and some willing politicians have written the economic rules to favor their own interests. Now people are working longer hours for less pay, and many are trapped in a downward economic spiral. One of the solutions to this trend is to give working people more freedom to join together in strong unions. 50 years ago, in 1968, when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the Memphis sanitation workers demanded the freedom to join a union, they pushed back against the racist right to work. Laws and won rights that benefited future generations. Unions may have become complacent over the years, but now is the time to push back again so that we may continue to hold on to those rights. Rights that people fought over and died over. Tonight, brothers and sisters, as we stand together in solidarity, we are telling the corporate special interests, SCOTUS, and those like Janice, that no matter what, America needs union jobs, that this is about freedom and community. We are not alone. They will not divide us. And lastly, united we stand.
Thank you, Sheila. Now to welcome us to New Bedford is our Mayor, John Mitchell.
All right, 'cause I'm very proud today, as the son of two public school teachers, both union members, to see this kind of turnout for good reason. Janice, and this is the news we have to confront. This is the reality. Janice is a real threat. There is no two words about it. This is the Supreme Court reaching its apogee, its apex, in terms of the degree to which it's out of touch with everyday Americans, people who want to go to work, to play by the rules, to gain what they deserve, to put food on the table for their family and pursue the American dream. That's what's at stake today. That's what's at stake before the Supreme Court. And that's why we have to come together, not just today, but every day, to make sure that our voices are heard. If you care about your kids being able to pursue the American dream and their kids and our communities being connected through opportunity and with opportunity, we have to be louder than we've been. We have to use today as a springboard to make sure that we have in place the kind of America that we believe our kids deserve to grow up in. I want to thank Lisa and the council for organizing today, for all of your hard work. I want to thank Steve Tolman for being here today. This is the beginning of a new day, a day in which we have to work harder. We should see this as the opportunity to renew the labor movement in the United States, especially with respect to public sector unions. It's that important if we are to continue to have the kind of public service that our citizens are entitled to, and the kinds of dignity, and to have jobs, public sector jobs, that offer opportunities for dignity that every occupant of them deserves. This is a new day. We've got a lot of work to do. Let's roll up our sleeves and get at it. Thanks, everybody.
So now we have the NAACP Vice President, who's also a member of AFT and an Associate Director for the Frederick Douglass Unity House at UMass Dartmouth. Lacelle, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Today we are gathered to support and protect the freedom of working people, to make sure that working people can join unions and make sure that unions are stronger than ever. Presently, there's been much talk about unions and their relevancy for employees and whether unions are needed. There can be no doubt that unions are needed today more than ever. Yes. The truth is the national discussion wants to focus on our differences, but we in the NAACP and everyone represented here, we want to focus on people, everyday people, working people, people who desire to care for their families, people who desire to care for their homes, people who desire to care for their communities. Union leadership works diligently to make sure that we have a collective bargaining agreement that we put workers first. Because sadly, not all institutions and companies do that. Every day, unions are forced to do the right thing. The right thing is what? What is the right thing, you ask? The right thing is making sure that we have decent working pay and a good working environment and enough money to take care of our families and our children and our communities, and the NAACP stands with you. It is my pleasure to introduce Mikael Hekpo. She is the chapter president of UMass Dartmouth NAACP.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out here today. My name is Mikael Hekpo. I'm a biochemistry major at the University of Massachusetts, Dartmouth, and I will graduate this May with the class of 2018. Thank you. I am the president of the UMass Dartmouth NAACP College Chapter, which is now in its second year. On behalf of the chapter, thank you for the opportunity to speak here today as we stand in solidarity to fight for the preservation of union jobs. The union was created for the working people, by the working people, to protect their rights, their freedom, and ensure that they are not bullied by corporate America. There is a lot of misconception floating around about union jobs that is derailing people from understanding its necessity. It is important that America does not forget why unions were created. It is important that the United States Supreme Court understands the value in organizing and coming together to build stronger unions. With the union comes unity. It comes strength, power, and an avenue to fight for a better life. The working people have long been cheated from a fair return on their work. Let us continue to stand together and to fight for the freedom of working people to join the union, because with that freedom comes the encouragement to stand up for what is your right and what is better for your community. Thank you for coming here today to show your support. America needs to know that when our right is threatened, we will fight for it. Yes. Thank you.
So what I'd like to do at this time is thank the elected officials who took time out of their, what we know to be very busy schedules, to be here and support all workers. We have Rory Clark here representing Senator Markey's office, Mike Jackman, and others supporting Congressman Keating. We have state reps Bob Cazzara and Tony Cabral. State Senator Paul Feeney. We have city councilors Maria Gesta, Naomi Carney, Hugh Dunn, and I also saw Joe Ferreira, our governor's counsel, somewhere. There he is. And who? And yep, Naomi Carney, I got her. Scott Lima's here, City Councilor Scott Lima. Anybody else we're missing? We got Hugh Dunn. So here it is, electeds. We got this really nice pledge here for you that we're hoping you will all sign while you're here today. So I'm going to hand this over to Sister Patricia over here so that she can hold. I'm going to hand her a marker, and at your leisure, I would encourage you to come sign our pledge for the working people, for we the people. Does anybody want to do that now while the cameras are rolling? Anybody? Anybody? You want me to read the pledge? It says, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect nation, are united across the country to demand that the freedom to form strong unions be protected as a sacred American right. As the United States Supreme Court considers arguments in Janus versus AFSCME, we ask that the justices remember that an attack on democracy in the workplace is an attack on the democratic bedrock of the United States of America. Working people must be free to join together in unions for good jobs and strong communities, and to build a nation where wealthy CEOs and special interests are no longer able to rig rig the economic and political rules in their favor at the expense of the public good.
Let me sign it.
We are going to send this to the Supreme Court.
Local 385!
All right, well, we continue our signature fest over here. We're going to bring up State Rep Tony Cabral, who, let me just say about Tony, you know, if you don't know who Tony is, you should stop by and see him. But, you know, I don't say this everywhere, but I want it to be clear that, Tony, we thank you for carrying the water for us over and over and over, even when nobody else will walk that water with you, you have. And we appreciate that, and we are with you.
Thank you, Lisa. Good evening. On my other life, I used to be a union member. I was a teacher, a member of MTA. So I know what it is to organize. I know what it is the freedom to organize and become a team so we can work together for better lives, for better jobs, good paying jobs. Good paying jobs means strong communities. Yes. Good paying jobs means strong families. Yes. Good paying jobs means strong state and strong nation. Yeah. And that's what unions represent. Strong jobs, good paying jobs. We are here today for the freedom to unionize, the freedom to come together and defend our own rights. We're going to fight back. The enemies of the working people, listen carefully. Listen carefully. We are going to fight you every step of the way. Every step of the way. You know, the labor movement in this country created the middle class, gave the opportunity for all of us as members of the working class to get a good education, to do better for our kids and our grandkids so they could have a better future. They want to take that away from us. Are we going to let them? No, let's come together, work together, and make sure that our rights are defended. Good union jobs, good paying jobs. Let's say it. Good paying jobs, good union jobs. Thank you.
Now this guy came all the way from Hanover. His name is Jason Hook, and he's a custodian at Hanover Council on Aging and ASME president for Local 1700.
How's it going, guys? Can you hear me? All right. My name is Jason Hook. I have worked for the town of Hanover for 9 years, 10 years maybe. My father has been an employee for the town for 34, pretty much my whole life. I grew up seeing what the benefits of a union job does for a family. Vacation time, sick time. When I was sick, my dad was sick. He did not worry about losing his job. We lived in the town. I grew up in the town that he worked in. It was a part of the community. People knew who we were. We were the Hook family. So the minute I got hired from the town of Hanover as a temporary custodian, as a floater, I signed my card. And I knew that, that I wanted to become involved. So I worked my way up to different shifts through the system, and then I became a custodian at a senior center. And I noticed shortly after I got hired that the 5 employees there weren't organized, yet their job descriptions were listed in one of the contracts. So for their luck and for, the misfortune of maybe management, I organized the senior center. I got all the 5 employees, $4 an hour raises, week vacation added on, sick days, they got 5 sick days each they were not getting, and on top of that, other stipends and dry cleaning allowance they never knew. No one ever went over there and asked them if they wanted to sign a card. So that's going to go into my next part here. I know I look like a little beat up, I'm a little gray here, but I'm actually considered a millennial. And I just want to give a shout out here to the guys that are in my age group. We need to stand up and we need to start working together. We need to preserve the benefits that we have now. Then we need to preserve them for the people that come after us. It is very important. And I just want to close out that, if we just all work together, and we could do this. I started off as an entry-level union employee. I became an e-board member. I became a sergeant of arms. I became a vice president, and now I'm a president. You can do it. All you have to do is get involved. Thank you. South Shore.
So this next guy needs no introduction, but I'll tell you, he is a fantastic former state senator, a champion to labor. He's been just a best friend and a partner at the Greater Southeastern Mass Labor Council, the president of the Massachusetts State AFL-CIO, Steve Tolman.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa. Can you hear me? Yes. Well, if you're a union member, raise your hand. How about that, huh? Now, brothers and sisters, first of all, we got to thank Lisa Lemieux, huh? How about putting this on? Thank you, Madam President. And where's Enid Eckstein? Enid Eckstein, right down here. Hey, brothers and sisters, for months, Enid has been working on this. Enid, publicly, I thank you for your great work. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. We also have a vice president with the AFL, Tim Melia. Where's Timmy Melia? Nobody better. Thank you, Timmy. And the longest-serving vice president of the AFL-CIO in Massachusetts history, Cindy Rodrigues, right down there in the front. Cindy, thank you for all your work. You know, brothers and sisters, this has happened all around Massachusetts and certainly from the weekend all around the country. And there's a lot of people that want us to fold up our tents and say this is the end of the game. But all this is a pattern. It's a pattern of the right wing, billionaires and millionaires doing whatever they want, not playing by the rules. Now, what do I mean by that? Just a couple of years ago, we heard about this case called Citizens United. Now, the same court that is going to screw us today is the same court that said corporations are people and they can donate unlimited money to elections. Unlimited. This is the land. This is the law of the land based on this court's decision. Now, we have to be American and keep our thoughts okay. But I can tell you something, brothers and sisters. There's something wrong in America when they want to do that for corporations, and the only organization, the only one that is standing up to corporations is right here in front of me. Every one of you. Organized labor. And you know what? And I want to tell you this because we know what happened in Wisconsin. But just 5 years before that happened, if you tried to sell anybody from Wisconsin, you tried to tell them that this could happen, they never would have believed you. But all the billions of dollars did it. Unlimited money. And they want to break us. And brothers and sisters, Lisa's putting this on, and Cindy has done a great job in leadership. But we got to attend the CLC meetings. We got to get active, more active in our own unions. We got to go to those meetings. And we got to talk to our brothers and sisters that aren't believers and tell them the importance. Because if we don't collectively bargain together, if we don't stand together amid what we're facing with this court, we will fall into their trap. Are we going to fall into their trap? Brothers and sisters, I'm honored to be with you in New Bedford because I feel the passion. I feel all the passion that we're going to need. But brothers and sisters, we got to beware that as we stand on the street today, this is only day one. This is only day one. And we got to go every single day to build this movement to make sure that Massachusetts does not become a Wisconsin. Are you with me? Thank you very much. Thank you. Short to the time.
So, I really felt that it was important that we brought Paul Feeney here today, because, you know, it's not every day that we bring senators from outside of the district to New Bedford and Fall River. But Paul Feeney, he's a special guy. He's not just a guy. He's part of us. He's part of labor. He is labor. He knows labor. He's been with us. And so I know that a lot of us went out and worked for Paul, but I want to make sure every single person in New Bedford and Fall River knows who he is, because he, along with Tony and representatives like him, are going to be helping us carry the water. And we thank you for being here with us. We thank you for having an open door so that we can come talk to you and you can hear our issues. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that introduction. I don't know who you were talking about, but I liked it. How do I follow President Tolman, huh? My Lord, my Lord. I got up into the state senate and they said, you know, you're not the first labor guy we've had in this chamber. We had somebody who's your president now, and Steve Tolman, and what a legacy he left. And I'm glad to pick up that mantle in the state senate to be labor's person in that chamber. Look, and let me tell you, New Bedford, it's great to be down here. I don't represent this district. I represent the Bristol and Norfolk just up the street. My colleague, Senator Montigny, couldn't be here tonight. He's laid up a little bit. But I wanted to come down and deliver a message. And when they asked me to come here, I said, absolutely. And when my staff said, do you want us to write remarks? I said, no, that's not how it works when I'm at these events. Because you can't speak off of a piece of paper. It comes from your heart when we're talking about these issues. Look, here we are again. Here we are again. President Tolman just mentioned Wisconsin. We've been here before. We're Citizens United. We're contract fights. Here we are again. The battle against workers is a tale as old as time, but so is our response. Because when we come together and we join together in people-powered politics, and we give power back to the people in the grassroots, that we can never, ever be defeated. Yeah. Brothers and sisters, I had a mentor of mine for years who said that, Paul, in times of any crisis, you can get bitter or you can get better. Well, damn it, I'm pretty bitter. But right now, we get better. Right now, we stick together. Right now, brothers and sisters, we're coming together across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and across the United States. It's time to return the power back to the workers of this country. Because let me tell you, this isn't just about one court case, one decision. This isn't about Janice. This isn't about public sector workers. It's about all of us. It's about workers throughout this country. It's about sticking together to provide jobs that our families and our communities rely on. Just the other day, brothers and sisters, I was asked to give some remarks at a multicultural heritage event up in Mansfield. And they said to me, Paul, we want you to talk a little bit about Dr. King in 50 years since he gave that famous I've been to the mountaintop speech. And I want to remind you, brothers and sisters, that when he gave that speech that fateful week, he was speaking up on behalf of sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee. Because Dr. King taught us, he knew that true freedom could never be achieved if economic justice wasn't delivered. He also spoke in that speech, I've been to the mountaintop, he spoke so eloquently about the Pharaoh and his famous technique that he used to use called divide and conquer. But he also spoke about the antidote of the slaves, that when they come together, they can never, ever be defeated. Brothers and sisters, before I got into the state senate, just a year before I decided to run to be a state senator, I walked the picket line. And for 7 weeks, many of you stood alongside me at Verizon buildings across this state, across this city, across this country. And you stood with us. You stood with us because you knew it wasn't about private sector, public sector, building trades. It was about workers. It was about families. It was about wages, benefits, working conditions, and everything that's important to us as people. Those are the values that we share, brothers and sisters. So I'm going to lead you with this. When I got into the state senate, and I tell you, I am blessed every single day. I didn't come that way through the normal path. I was a working person. When I got out of high school, I didn't go to college. I got in a truck and drove across the state working for the same company that my father worked for so many years. And I remember back to 1989 when he walked the picket line for 17 weeks fighting for health care. And I remembered what a union meant to my family. And I said, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm a working person. We're going to stick together. And when I got elected to the state senate, I said, that doesn't go away. That doesn't go away. Matter of fact, it strengthens my resolve. When I got sworn in November, they gave me this nice, shiny new ID. And they said, Paul, this will get you into the building. It's going to let you into the garage. You get a nice parking spot up there. It's going to let you into your office. We're going to give you an office up on the 5th floor. So I said, all right, thanks for the ID. And right away, I put on the other side of that my IBEW union card. Because brothers and sisters, whether I'm in the Senate or whether I'm in the Board of Selectmen like I was in Foxborough, whether I'm here with you on the streets, this has to be our identity. From our house to the workplace, you don't put this away at the end of the night. This means something. And this is a reminder to me every single day when I pull into that building to represent you in the state Senate, that this maybe get me into the State House, but this one got me into the middle class. Thank you so much. Be you. God bless you all.
So the one thing that we've learned in labor over many decades is that we cannot do this alone. Right? We cannot do this alone. We need you and you and you and you and everybody else in between. But including that, we can't do without our community partners. And we have some very important community partners, not all that signed in, so I'm not going to try to list them all, but I do want to do a shout out to the Coalition for Social Justice, the Mass Defenders Group, and CCT. Now, I'm going to bring up our CSJ organizer and Raise Up Massachusetts field organizer, Annabelle Santiago.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annabelle Santiago, and I'm with the Coalition for Social Justice. I want to share a story of a friend of mine today. She was in a situation where the person she was with was overdosing. That experience alone can be very overwhelming and frightening for someone who doesn't know what to do in the situation. My friend told me that once she called 911, the person on the phone helped calm her down. The officers quickly came, handled the situation, and helped calm my panicking friend. Police officers, as well as firefighters and paramedics, all help out in tough situations like the one my friend went through. There are multiple examples of the great public services that we receive from unions within our communities. Another personal example is like the public education that I received that enabled me to get my high school diploma, which prepped me to receive now my higher education at UMass Dartmouth. Unions care for our communities by supporting the working people that make all of this possible. Unions help strengthen our communities by making sure working people, like our policemen and teachers, have protections on the job, fair wages and benefits, so that they can show up in the community every day and do their jobs well. The more that community members are union members, the more working people can rise together. Our communities are strong when our unions are strong. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Annabelle. So now we're bringing up unorganized public defender working with SEIU 888, James Vita.
Thank you. My name is James Vita. I'm an attorney with the Committee for Public Counsel Services. It's the public defender agency here in Massachusetts. I work here in New Bedford, and we represent folks who are charged with crimes and who can't afford representation. And when President Tolman asked, who is a union member, I couldn't raise my hand because we don't have the right to collectively bargain. There are 500 employees, state employees, attorneys, investigators, social workers, administrative staff who aren't in a union because they've been denied that right, because they don't have the freedom to join a union. We don't have a voice in our workplace to fight for better wages or to fight for better workplace protections. We are all essentially already in a right to work situation. We are all at-will employees, essentially. And my mother is a public school teacher. She's heavily involved in her own union. My stepfather is just retired, but is a union coal miner. My uncle was a coal miner. And I know from growing up how important it was to our family to have the union, to be able to, that fought for better wages for my mother, for my other family members, better benefits. And we don't have that right with the Public Defender's Office. So we know how important it is to stand up for those rights, to stand up for the freedom to join a union. And we all stand, and all of us at the Public Defender's Office stand in solidarity with everybody here, with all of the unions here. And we don't have, it's so important for us, for all workers, to have a voice in the workplace, to have a voice to fight for better wages, to have a voice to fight for better, better benefits, to have a voice to fight for better workplace protections. And to improve, we can also use our freedom to join a union to fight for better conditions for our clients, just like my mother fights every day as her union president to fight for better conditions for her students, to stand up for things like class size, to keep class sizes small so that students have a better learning environment. Those are all of the things that we are denied because we don't have the right to collectively bargain even though we are state employees. So we stand in solidarity. We stand up for the rights of working people to join a union, to bargain, to fight for better wages, and to fight for better lives for their families and for their communities. Thank you.
So, as it's been said, this is not the end. This is day one. This is case one. There are several other Supreme Court cases coming up after this one, and we're going to keep coming back and keep coming back. So, you know, and the reason we're coming back, right, to stand up for our union jobs, but also to show our people power, right? I am committed, this Labor Council is committed to giving you, every worker in southeastern Massachusetts, the ability to show your people power. All you need to do is show up. Go to your union meetings, go to your Labor Council meetings, be part of the process, show up, be at the table, be there. The reason that we're here is for good American union jobs. Why are we here? Why are we here?